Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Le Castellet, 25 miles east of Marseille for what is the 8th round of the Coleslaw Cup here at Circuit Paul Ricard. 15 corners make up this 5.8 kilometer circuit, 9 to the right, 6 to the left. Two DRS zones here make for the biggest opportunity, two DRS zones here with the biggest opportunity for overtaking being the 90-degree left-hander into turn 1, and then finally turns 8 and 9, where we saw Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen have that beautiful overtake for the win in 2021. The top speeds of the circuit up to 205 miles an hour, roughly, thereabouts. Now, we were seeing top speeds of about 217, I believe the statistic was, last week out at Miami, so it should be a very interesting race, to say the least. Hot spot on the call, as you'd expect. About halfway through the season now, should be a very interesting French Grand Prix for us here today. No rain in sight. Should be very, very good. And so, here we are, qualifying it is. 17 drivers on the grid for tonight. It looks like we do have the Red Bull team being... So a bright and sunny day here then at Circuit Paul Ricard. Now let's go over the tire strategies. I'm not sure if formation lap is on or off, so we'll get through this now. Soft tire is going to be between 6 to 8 laps today. Mediums between 12 and 16. Hards 19 and 22 laps. So it will realistically be a very interesting tire strategy to follow here today. I'm not entirely sure we'll see drivers on the soft tires whatsoever. But should we do, it will be towards the end of the race or in the early stint before the safety car happens. So, the lights turning on here then, Circuit Paul Ricard, 4 lights and then 5. And they're off. Championship rivals off the line, El Majaco and Scornsy side by side. You got the two AlphaTauris behind them. AlphaTauri of Dace trying to go around the outside. He's actually going to go down the inside into turn 1, and he's got the lead before he even gets there. What a move then from the AlphaTauri of Dace, and it looks like perhaps Scornsy and that's Dusty Lusky trading positions there in the Mercedes. Dusty Lusky actually gets around the Haas end of Scornsy, who's second place in this championship battle. Ray TDV Dutchman back there battling it out as well, and somehow, some way, everything has stayed clean. The Red Bull TDV Dutchman's actually fallen off just a little bit then. The Red Bull of KBO7's gotten around him, and then he's looking to get around the McLaren of Ray ahead of him, and that has been an absolutely unbelievable lap then from the AlphaTauri of Dace, not so much from A-Dub, who has fallen off at least 2 positions here as Dusty Lusky moves his way to the podium places and Scornsy falls out. But meanwhile, here's Dusty Lusky on the back of El Majaco, exiting now, turns 8 and 9. He's going to look down to the right-hand side. Dusty Lusky has chosen those soft compound tires. That, I gotta say, was a little bit of a that's a bold maneuver to say the least. Only 3 drivers on the grid choosing them, that being Dusty, Ray and Dutchman. Only 4 choosing the mediums, that being Dace, Scornsy, Nicky, and Team B7. Everyone else on the hards. So as you would imagine, some drivers, those on the softs and mediums, have gained big early. That being as well, Dusty Lusky up 2 spots, Ray up 3, Dutchman up 3. So far, the biggest loser is Shariah Coleslaw, who's down 5. We have a yellow flag off towards the back. It's Team B7. But meanwhile, Dusty Lusky and Scornsy battling it out here. Dusty is right close then to El Majaco. He's going to look down the inside, heading down the pit straight, and he's got it. But mind you, Dusty Lusky is going to have to come out to some advantage here before he has to pit in eventually 6 laps time. It's going to be very tricky for him to stay on the pace of the leaders today. Is the Mercedes of Dusty Lusky. I'm not sure that the soft tire strategy has been a good decision. However, here we are then, Scornsy and Majaco. Gearbox to front wing as they exit now sector 1. Scornsy now is within that slipstream of the Ferrari ahead. He's going to have battery percentage here. Jacko down to 60%, Scornsy at 70. Here comes Scornsy. He's going to look towards perhaps the inside. Does he try to make the move now? He's going to look for it quite late, and I'm afraid he's missed his opportunity then, but he might get it on the outside here, and then he's going to try to perhaps switch back down to the inside of the Ferrari. He's gotten a much better exit at turn number 9, and there goes Scornsy down to the inside. It's side by side between these two as they now head towards turn 10, wheel to wheel. Paper-thin margins, and it looks like for now, you still can't separate him. Someone has gone off towards the back. It's both Aston Martins. Tim Roll and Team B7 have had themselves not a very productive opening start to the day. Still side by side then, and Majaco finally, after some considerable effort, does eke his way out ahead of Scornsy, but for how long? Well, it doesn't seem like it's going to be long at all because Scornsy is still right there on those medium tires. Jacko, I'd have to say, at the start, is going to be off to somewhat of a disadvantage here, and it certainly seems like, although he's defending his heart out, how long is he going to be able to keep it up? As we look a little bit further back, it does look like Dusty Lusky setting the fastest lap of the race. Jacko and Scornsy side by side once again towards turn one. Scornsy had his wheel to the inside then of Jacko, chose to back out before making the move happen. That was probably a smart decision. He'll have DRS on him when he gets out of turn number 7. And I think at that point in time, Jacko might start falling back, as not only does he have A-Dub there, he's got Smith Pell kind of within striking distance as well. So El Jacko really has to defend like a menace for these next couple laps before those mediums start to fall off. And now, DRS enabled right now, as Scornsy now, even without battery, looks down to the inside on El Jacko. He'll make that move happen. Dusty Lusky, mind you, has not been able to track down Dace in its hunt for the lead, as Dace really still is holding on, and Dusty, I'm afraid his tire's starting to fall off. He is, however, starting to close that gap slightly. He's about 6/10 heading into the chicane. It's now about 4/10 going through turn 10. A-Dub now, he's hunting down El Jacko, both these drivers on the hard compound tire. This is the battle to watch here. I'm afraid this just might be the battle for the eventual lead of the race. I know it's still early days, but I do have to believe that, being that all but 8 drivers on the grid have chosen something other than starting on the hard tires, you'd have to think that these two are ahead of the game right now. But Dusty Lusky is going to have DRS on Dace here. Lap 4 of the Grand Prix starting now. DRS open for the Mercedes. Does he have enough to get to the back? No, he doesn't. Meanwhile, Scornsy setting the fastest lap. He is coming for that second spot, you better believe it. El Jacko, he's starting to fall a little bit back behind, with outside of 8/10 now, and A-Dub is reeling him in. VTech and Slayer Eyes battling it out there through turn 1. Oh, and Slayer Eyes, something's happened with him. He's going quite slowly and has lost a position then. Very exciting opening laps to this Grand Prix. Here's Nicky 64 on the back of the McLaren Ray. Nicky 64 did have quite an impressive qualifying showing then, P6. He's dropped down 2 spots since then, but he's going to have DRS, and does he perhaps have anything for the McLaren ahead of him? Well, the McLaren of Ray is going to be looking down to the inside of Smith Pell here. He is on those soft tires, mind you, and he does make that overtake happen into turn number 8. Nicely done then from the McLaren, but how long will his advantage last? Surely not that much longer. KBO7 down to the inside on Nicky 64 as they head to turn 10, wheel to wheel between these two. Who comes out on top? It looks like KBO7 for the time being still has it. Oh, and he spun around, and I'm not quite sure how much contact was made there, if any, but that was, he's just pulled right back onto the racing line then as KBO7. That is very unlucky for the Ferrari driver, who was side by side with Nicky 64, but to no avail. And it looks like, has Tim Rowland gone off back there? Has he done in front wing as well? It kind of looks like he has. Dusty Lusky now outside of almost a second on Dace. Scornsy in hot pursuit then, who, by the way, has put a second and a half nearly back to Jacko, and Jacko's put outside of a second back to A-Dub. So it definitely looks like the top 3 pulling away from the rest of the grid, and once these DRS trains start forming, you'd have to expect that to happen. Yellow flag towards the back once again. It looks like, well, I'm not quite sure, but Unholy Red Eye and Slayer Eyes side by side, then exiting turn number 1. Still side by side now. The McLaren down to the inside into turn 3. Wheel to wheel racing here at Le Castellet, and it's been absolutely brilliant. And he still has the inside then, is Slayer Eyes, but how long will he be able to keep the advantage as Unholy Red Eye pulls around the outside with the McLaren still there? Meanwhile, the top of the grid, Scornsy's got around Dusty Lusky heading into turn 8, and unfortunately we missed it. However, Scornsy making that overtake happen, and now he's got the leader of Dace in his sights. Both drivers, medium compound tires. This will be a good battle here for the lead of the Grand Prix. Mind you, these medium tires will last you between lap 12 and lap 16, so still a little bit ways off for any pit window concerns for these drivers. However, the 4 that started on the softs, that being Dusty, Ray, Dutchman, and someone else did as well, but someone's pit since then, I think. No, maybe not. Maybe no one has. Anyways, KVO7, Unholy Red Eye battling it out here, side by side, these two. Ferrari well, it's a double Italian battle, this. Knock, knock, it's England in behind as Slayer Eyes making his way through. Man, there's some excellent battling happening so far today. There's so much unfolding as McLaren is Slayerized quite deep around the outside. I'm not quite sure he'll have anything there. Here's Nicky64 trying to make his move up to Smith Pell for that 7th spot. Mind you, Nicky on the medium tires. He still has a somewhat advantage for now. Scornsy then, within 0.8 of a second on Dace ahead. Dace goes quite wide on exit then of turn 6. This one might end well for Scornsy because now he can get that DRS. I believe he's carrying more speed as well. Now they're about even, really. Scornsy starting to reel him in here, but it's not enough to be concerned with making an overtake so far. Here's Nicky64, still trying to reel in Smith Pell. Smith Pell's got the McLaren of Ray Ray ahead of him. Meanwhile, A-Dub holding fast to that 5th position. He's got Majacco ahead of him within a second that. But still really nothing enough to make an overtake happen. Smith Pell now within a couple tenths on Ray Ray for the 6th spot. Ray Ray on those soft tires will have to pit soon. As Smith Pell going to look down to the inside, you can see how much Ray Ray pushing into the corner. The AlphaTauri down to the inside. Has he got the move made? Not quite yet. The McLaren's still there. Contact made. Somehow, nobody has gone and died, but Ray Ray has the position. I'm not even sure if contact was made. It sure looked like there was, but I guess game said no. No pit stops to be had yet. Nicky64 in on this in on this as well. Right then to the gearbox of the Alpine ahead of him. Well, the Alpine of Smith Pell had a little bit of oversteer then. I would assume Nicky64 might have this position in a turn 1. He's going to try the outside, perhaps then switching back down to the inside. Oh, I think Nicky's missed a real opportunity then. He definitely could have had a go at the Alpine ahead of him, but he chose not to. Unholy Red Eye. Well, it looks like KBO7's disconnected as he's going through the Ferrari then. Interesting. Anyways, I will say Scornsy not exactly troubling the AlphaTauri of Dace here. Was about six tenths away last time, and now he's about 6 tenths now, but he was just outside of about 7 tenths not too long ago. Somewhere in that first sector, Dace is beating Scornsy on pace. I'm not quite sure where. But here's Dusty Lusky now. Can he find a move around Jacko? Meanwhile, as well, 0.3 of a second for the lead. Scornsy and Dace. Both drivers, medium tires. Who has the advantage? We're not quite sure. Scornsy deep into the braking zone then. That's coughed up a little bit of the gap then. But he still just hasn't been able to find anything to get past the AlphaTauri. Again, it's somewhere in Sector 1, I think, that Scornsy is losing out on time. Because here he is, 0.3 of a second behind Dace. But then going down that back stretch towards turns 8 and 9, Dace has him beat. And is it perhaps just on straight line speed? You can see Dace really is just simply flying then. I think at one point, a 20-km/h advantage. Oh, Smith Pell's gone off. That's not in a good spot whatsoever. That's off towards the inside of the circuit. That's coming out of turn 15. So we'll have to keep an eye here on who's doing what. You can see now 0.5 of a second. Scornsy starting to actually close it in. I tell you what, Dace, I think has probably had somewhat of a mistake because he's not gone through that time that well at all. Here comes Scornsy, perhaps for the lead of the Grand Prix. DRS activated. Is he going to look down to the inside? Yes, he does. Knock, knock. It's the United States down into turns 8 and 9. Does he have it? He's still right there on the outside. Yes, yes, he does, but only just. And I think he had to give that position back as he went over the curb there. We've got the Williams of Tweezer or Unholy Red Eye. Both of them actually have gone off then towards the back. Both the Williams of Tweezer and Unholy Red Eye. Something happened with them, and Tweezer has DNF'd. And we are under safety car now. And if you're in the case of Scornsy and Dace, I think that honestly has come out at a great time. Those hard tires can last you about 22 laps. So, realistically, we might be seeing some takers for the hard tires now. Let's just see what Scornsy does here. Will he pull into the pits and will Dace follow? I'm not quite sure. However, once again, anybody that pits is going to fall back significantly considering the majority of the field on the hard tires, which also Jacko pitting. Dusty Lusky, that came out at a good time for him. Why is everyone pitting now? Ray Ray coming in, Nicky64 coming in VTech the only one to have stayed out. Everyone else, perhaps their mother, definitely their brother, coming in. Wow. Interesting stuff, this. I didn't expect this many drivers to come in. I didn't expect anyone on the hards to come in. Majako's gone to mediums. I mean, those can last you 16 laps. That's going to be a decent enough task to perhaps go the distance on. I'm not quite sure, but it is VTech leading the Grand Prix then. Scornsy second, Dace third, and Majako has come out fourth. Majako on the medium tires. He'll have the pace advantage off the start, but for now, I'll step aside. So, safety car in this lap if you're a fan of the American football. Seahawks are leading the Broncos 17-13. Geno Smith is 19 for 22, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Very interesting stuff, but even more so, takes place in France. God, when was the last time you said France had anything interesting going on? Anyways, VTech leading the Grand Prix then, 9-lap-old hard tires. Scornsy and everyone else behind him, minus Unholy Red Eye, fresh, hard or medium tires, which is the interesting thing. Everyone kind of pit a little early, I think. If you're Majako, who you start on the hard tires, I mean, you need to go 17 laps. I think it might be possible, 16 laps on the tires, that's pretty much the tire life we would expect of a medium tire. That's what the game says is possible. But, I don't know. Might be a bit tricky towards the end. VTech leading the field back to green now. Scornsy right in the slipstream then of the Alfa Romeo. Dace has actually fallen back quite a little bit. El Majako in fourth. Side by side then go Dusty Lusky and Shariah Coleslaw. I believe Shariah defended that inside line quite well, actually, and Dusty wasn't able to make anything happen. The field is actually quite lagged a bit, it seems. After the safety car, it does appear like there's quite a gap forming already. Dusty Lusky's got A-Dub in behind. Nicky 64 behind him, but Dusty Lusky looking on those fresh hard tires to get around Shariah Coleslaw. 10 laps old. Here's Scornsy looking to get past VTech here. Battery percentage being used for Scornsy in the slipstream. He's going to max at about 325 kilometers an hour going down the straight. Everyone else pretty much same behind him. The 2 Aston Martins swapping position then towards the back. It looks like A-Dub got a really good exit of the corner. He might have a run at Nicky 64 here, but more importantly, Scornsy within 3/10 then on VTech. Dusty Lusky, he's within a 10th on Shariah Coleslaw. A-Dub close behind him as well. There's so much action happening. But the battle for the lead, Smith Pell, 3 seconds, multiple warnings. I'm actually not quite sure where that's gone through. Maybe he's gone a bit wide going through turn 10. It's possible. Scornsy from the right side, switching down to the inside. He's going to have the advantage going into turn 14, wheel to wheel here between VTech and Scornsy. Is he going to look for it? Yes, he does. Still side by side then, but crucially, VTech still has the inside. I think for now, VTech might have this position. Unfortunately for him, however, Scornsy's got battery. Side by side, look at this camera angle down the pit straight, and it seems for now VTech still has the lead of the Grand Prix. By my surprise, it does appear. I didn't expect it. I tell you what, VTech is defending like a brick wall against... I don't know where I was going with that one, but he's defending very well at this moment in time. I do think he's going to be at the disadvantage once DRS gets enabled. Perhaps even this time by Scornsy is still right there. Meanwhile, here's El Majako battling then with Dace. Remember, this could be for the lead of the Grand Prix here eventually once VTech decides to come into pit. It's a beautiful overtake then from El Majako, putting himself into third. That one was pretty. Scornsy still not able to keep up with the straight line speed of the Alfa Romeo in front of him. He's not able to close that gap just yet. A-Dub and Dusty Lusky were side by side there for a minute. It does appear like A-Dub is let off. Into the gearbox then of Dusty Lusky exiting the corner. Ray KVO7 side by side then. Ray around the outside does have the position. Meanwhile, at the top of the grid, Scornsy's going to look to the outside on VTech. VTech blocks off the move. Down through turn 11, Scornsy's got the outside. VTech's got to be sure not to slide up the banking here. Scornsy has it. He has to go wide. VTech's still going to keep the position. Goodness gracious, what defending then. And now, El Majako right there on the gearbox of Scornsy, perhaps, for what will eventually be the lead of the Grand Prix. Dace in this too. Don't forget, yellow flag towards the back. It looks like Smith Pell has gone off. Down to the inside goes El Majako. He's made that move happen on Scornsy. Down through turn 15. And through all the battling, VTech still has the lead of the Grand Prix, and Scornsy right there in hot pursuit. Dusty Lusky getting around A-Dub then. DRS enabled this time by. It's going to get interesting here in a moment. Scornsy still. I tell you what, this is what I was concerned about. I know that Scornsy and anyone else on the hard tires wants the pace for the end of the race over those on the mediums, but that is still a very interesting call to make. For right now, I would assume Jacko has a clean advantage then over the Haas, but you never know. Here's Majacko again, looking for that similar, don't mind the voice crack, looking for the similar switchback maneuver that he pulled on Scornsy, or Dace 2 laps ago, and now El Majacko around the outside, going through turns 8 and 9. Still there is the Alfa Romeo. Was there any contact on the back? No, there wasn't. Beautiful overtake from Majacko. He takes the lead of the Grand Prix, and now Scornsy right there on the gearbox of VTEC, heading towards turn 10. He's going to look down to the inside, nothing there. VTEC refuses to give up this position, although he does go wide that time. Yellow flag towards the back. Oh, that's quite the conundrum, that one. Ray Lobo, I believe one of the Aston Martins went off then. Scornsy around the left-hand side of VTEC. He tried to make this move 1 lap ago, didn't find any success, much to his chagrin. He does this time, however, as it looks like VTEC's actually gone quite wide then. He's going to lose another position then to Dace, and now it seems the top 3, the cream has risen to the cream of the crop has risen to the top once more. That rhymes quite nicely, that. KBO7 and Ray battling it out once more. It does look as if pretty much everyone on track within DRS range of each other, but it's one of these dreaded DRS trains which nobody can really escape from, unless you've got some sort of ridiculous pace advantage. As KBO7, speaking of pace advantage, he's made up a couple positions just this lap as he's getting around the Red Bull then of TDV Dutchman. Nicely done then. Mickey64, he's still hunting down the back of A-Dub, Team B7, then picking up 3 seconds, multiple warnings in the Aston Martin. Nicky64 going quite wide on exit of turn 5 then. That's hindered his progress quite significantly. Now A-Dub, can he find anything to get to the back of Dusty Lusky? A-Dub, fresh medium tires. Dusty Lusky, fresh hards. Dusty hunting down the back of Shariah Coleslaw. Mind you, Shariah 13-lap-old hards. Gonna look to the outside, nothing there. Gonna wait there. Man, Shariah really almost parking it on the apexes of the corners in order to defend the position, which to his credit is working quite nicely. But now, meanwhile, at the top of the grid, Scornsy and Jacko, that battle within only 3/10. Dusty Lusky still to the back of the Alpine here. We're going to have to leave that alone for just a bit. The battle for the lead, 4/10 or less. And now Scornsy can perhaps start to reel in El Majacko. He still has a lot of time to make the move happen, mind you. We've only just eclipsed halfway through the race. So this move still could be in the works here. It doesn't need to happen now, but perhaps before a safety car comes into play, as Team B7's gone off then, before perhaps any safety car gets in the way of the proceedings here and messes up the tire strategy, Scornsy might want to make that move on Jacko, as now he's within 2/10, as the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, which I think he did to begin with, but he's bested it at that anyways. Dusty Lusky was within a 10th then on Shariah, but now he's under pressure then from A-Dub in behind. A-Dub's gotten a much better go through turns 1 and 2, and now he's really close to the back of the Mercedes, but he's in a Mercedes sandwich here as Nicky64 to the gearbox end of A-Dub. Meanwhile, battle for the lead, 4/10 of a second. Scornsy has DRS. He's got the pace as well. Look at him. He's starting to pull the Ferrari here. Ferrari taking the maneuver, trying to mess him up then. To the outside goes Scornsy. To the inside then. Dusty Lusky getting around Shariah. Only just. Yes, he does. Somehow has made that one happen, and now he's got A-Dub down to the inside. But battle for the lead. Less than a 10th now as they go through turn 10. This is where I think the hards might start to take precedence here. Round the outside goes Scornsy. Does he keep it? No. Is he going to switch back down to the inside? He didn't really consider it then. To the outside going into turn 12. He's going to switch now. Now perhaps comes a switch down to the inside. No, he doesn't. Still trying to line up that move. This is what a great racer does right here. You can see him filling up the mirrors of the Ferrari ahead, making him uncomfortable. Perhaps El Majacko will make a mistake that'll give Scornsy the position without over amounts of effort then. But El Majacko, naturally, used to that kind of pressure. And so far, it looks like Scornsy's still not able to get around the Ferrari. However, Still has a lot of time and a lot of pace on those tires to do it. Again, so much action, it's hard to keep up with. Meanwhile, Dace, mind you, all this battling happening at the top for the top 2 spots, Dace has wandered his way into this battle for the lead as well. He's only 0.4 of a second behind Scornsy for that 3rd spot. Oh, I tell you what, Scornsy's not gotten a good go then through turn 6. He's looked a little bit slow. He's dropped off about 0.3, then back to Jacko, and now DRS open for the all of them, but nobody will be able to make a move happen. Once again, the battle for the lead. The top 3 within a second of each other. I think. Yes. Mickey 64 and Shariah side by side then. The Mercedes on Alpine here. And it looks like the Alpine was able to fend off then. And this is the Ferrari of KBO7, I'm sorry. KBO7 around the outside. Does he have anything to be made? Meanwhile, speaking around the outside, Scornsy and Jacko were side by side then for a moment. Scornsy wasn't able to get the move done, but he really was there. I think Scornsy might just be having the pace advantage through everything that isn't Sector 2. Oh, and maybe a little contact then, because he did see Scornsy kind of have to let off to correct the car. Interesting this, and now Dace in this battle as well. 11 laps to go this time by. Scornsy within half a second on Jacko ahead of him. In the pits comes Shariah Coleslaw. P-Tech, I'm sure, will be coming in soon as well. This is a outstanding battle for the lead here at Circuit Paul Ricard. I have a second water bottle, yes I do. Quick splash and go, and then we're ready. Oh, nice. Anyways, so Scornsy now. Oh, I think he may have gotten a better exit out of 7 that time. He's starting to reel in Jacko here, but again, he's just going to run out of time before he can make anything happen. And meanwhile, Dace has been left in the dust. That gap now almost a second. Less than 0.3 now between Scornsy and Jacko for the lead of the Grand Prix, heading towards turn 10 and 11. We've seen these two go side by side pretty much every lap they've been battling so far, at least the past 4. Here's Scornsy. He wants it around the outside. Now this is interesting here. Jacko doing the right thing, covering off the move to the inside, forcing Scornsy to go the long way around. That is something that Scornsy has not been able to take advantage of, is having that outside line. Elma Jacko defending very nicely at this moment in time, using the track to his advantage, covering off the potential moves that could be had. However, Scornsy's still right there, and I tell you what, I have no idea how Elma Jacko has kept it so perfect through these past couple laps. Scornsy directly within his mirrors here. This is actually brilliant racing, these two. And I tell you what, I'm very glad that it's not happening behind or after a safety car. This is just pure outstanding talent at the top of the grid here, as Scornsy still once again to the back of Elma Jacko, but to no avail. Jacko heavy over the inside curve. Still within the slipstream of the Ferrari ahead. Dace wants in on this as well. He now is within 0.3 of the Haas in front of him. Brilliant racing here. 3 cars in position to win this Grand Prix. But then this is what I'm concerned about. Dace, it seems like, is taking a much more lenient row coming out of turns 6 and 7, because you can see him going up through 5th gear, not really having any high revs, and struggling to get back on the throttle. Here's Scornsy down to the inside on Jacko into turn 8. Oh, when he backs out of the position. A-Dub getting around Dusty Lusky then for the 5th spot. Nicely done then from the AlphaTauri. Remember, it is a battle. AlphaTauri down 10 points in the constructor standings to Ferrari. Ferrari, by the way, 1st and 7th. AlphaTauri 3rd and 5th. Setting up going into the second half of the season. This has been a brilliant campaign so far, and anything can happen. Scornsy still 0.3 of a second back to Jacko. Once again, I have the feeling that Scornsy is just faster going through Sector 3, but Jacko is just pulling him here, I think, going into Sector 2. Really, anywhere that's on a straight line, Scornsy just has not been able to overtake him, but is now the chance. He's going to look down to the inside, and yes, he does. Scornsy finally has the lead of the Grand Prix, but no, he doesn't. Jacko takes it back up the inside. Scornsy, I think, hesitated momentarily, and that has resulted in Jacko retaining the lead of the Grand Prix. And mind you, Dace in behind as well. Now, if you thought this was an uncomfortable position for Majacco, think about what it is for Scornsy now. Scornsy's got the car in front of him and behind him, both looking to overtake. Oh, and I can see why Dace has been taking it easy through that section of the track. That was a big wiggle for him, but now, within 0.3 of a second on Scornsy up ahead. Scornsy does have the DRS, and Dace, I'm afraid, will not be able to escape that DRS train anytime soon. I think if the lead of the race is going to be changed here, it's going to have to be done in a corner. El Majacco, mind you, is going to have to go really 16 laps, the longest the mediums can go, in order to make it to the end of the Grand Prix. The drivers in the hards don't have anything to worry about. It really is El Majacco who pulled off a bold move on strategy. Although, in hindsight, I think definitely coming in was the better choice, because you can see VTech, who has remained in 4th place. He's got a lot of drivers behind him, and I'm sure he'll be losing many positions when he does decide to come in. But now Scornsy still trying to hunt down the Ferrari. Doing everything he can. But now, does he have it? Finally, VTech coming in. Scornsy, does he have it into turn 1? Man, and Scornsy just not able to find that move. El Majacco defending brilliantly, but for how long will he be able to keep it up? The mediums already are entering the end of their tire lives. Ray, 3 seconds of time penalty for him. I would assume if you're on the hards, you will have the advantage over the mediums by this stage of the Grand Prix. But then again, El Majacco does happen to know perfection like the back of his hand as far as the driving talent. Here's Scornsy in the slipstream. Look at the run he's getting this time. El Majacco went to block the inside. Scornsy went around the right side. He's going to have the advantage going into the next corner, and he still can't find the move. Scornsy, we got a car that's gone off. I believe that is Ray Lobo, perhaps. Did something happen with him just then? I'm not quite sure. But Scornsy, he's going to look around the outside one more time, going through turn 11. Still side by side, and Dace still has really been, unfortunately, unable to crack this battle for the lead here. He's on even Stevens as far as tire strategy goes. But where is he losing the time is my question. Here comes Scornsy. He's going to look for it once more. Doesn't have anything yet. I will say the frustration is probably mounting for that Haas driver. He knows that he needs to get around the Ferrari here. He knows that he can, but Majacco is doing everything he can and more to make sure that doesn't happen. Scornsy, will he have it now? Once again, choosing the outside. Of course, he'll have the advantage going into turn 2. Side by side then with the Ferrari. Does he have it? No. He'll have to back out of the position. And now Dace around the outside. Scornsy, in his hesitation, has taken the position, has lost the position then to the AlphaTauri, and now we've got ourselves a race. Dace now, maybe he won't be so tentative to make the move happen. He and AlphaTauri, they've got something to prove. They're so close in the constructor standings, and now all he's doing is going to be holding up Scornsy here, who Scornsy has not been able to overtake on the straights. He's had the looks, but he hasn't had any success. How El Majacco is doing all this only with half a battery. It's still with half a battery. He's not even barely touched it, it seems. Yellow flag. Someone's gone off. It looks like, oh no, Scornsy. No, and Scornsy has fallen behind, but Dace has taken the lead of the Grand Prix. In the moment of Scornsy's error, Dace has taken the lead. And this is what, I don't want to say I called it, but I kind of figured Dace would have to be more aggressive. And that is exactly what he's done. Well, in the words of the great Slim Shady, you only get one shot. Scornsy, I think, had about 6 or 7 of them and wasn't able to make them pay off. And now Dace leads the Grand Prix. Majacco behind, 13-lap-old mediums. Surely they're at the end of their tire lives. I'm not entirely sure he will be able to contend for the win once more. A-Dub, 3.5 seconds behind. It is a AlphaTauri podium, 1-3 so far. Meanwhile, that doesn't mean too much, as KB07 is only a couple of tenths behind Dusty Lusky for the 4th spot. This is interesting here. A-Dub, really the head of this DRS train here, doesn't have anything, really, I would assume, to defend against the Mercedes behind him. An AlphaTauri 1 and 3, a Ferrari 2 and 4. That would be quite incredible. Down to the inside looks Dusty Lusky. Will he have it going into turn 8? No, he doesn't. You can see the graining on the tires then of the AlphaTauri ahead, especially on the rears then, as we were seeing just moments ago. KB07, he is also still within this tight little margin here. Dusty Lusky's going to look down to the inside. I think had to temporarily lift off then. Wasn't able to have any sort of overtake then. KB07, does he perhaps have anything down to the inside? No, he doesn't. Scornsy has fallen down all the way to 7th place after his error, I think. I'm not actually sure what's caused that with him. Did he get into it with another driver, or was it just pure error? I'm not entirely sure, because he was spun out in a very interesting part of the track that we don't often see drivers make mistakes in, let alone Scornsy make mistakes at all. We don't see that often, but here's Dusty Lusky down to the outside of A-Dub then. Is he going to have the position? No! And they make contact! And KB07's going to make his way through. A-Dub and Dusty Lusky, good God, we're battling for the podium then, and contact was made. And now Ferrari, who look to be very much at the disadvantage at the Constructors' Championship so far in today's race, now find themselves in a good position here with A-Dub and Dusty Lusky both falling down the order. And now still El Majacco within a couple of tenths then on Dace. Scornsy and Nicky64 battling for position then. Scornsy up to 4th. Nicky64 close in behind, but nothing yet for what was, I believe at one point, the leader of the Grand Prix was Scornsy. Ray, he's within a 10th here of Dusty Lusky. Remember, Dusty's just had that incident then with A-Dub. I would assume his tires need to be kind of babysat at the moment, as when you do overheat the tires in this game, it does take a while to cool back down. His VTEC has just nicely gotten around TW Dutchman then. So now, the gap between Dace and Jacko outside of a second, even with DRS. 4 laps to go in the French Grand Prix. Dusty Lusky side by side with A-Dub once again. This time, not resulting in a spin. Wow. Mind you, A-Dub's still right there. I don't think he will be giving up that position easy whatsoever. Meanwhile, the McLaren of Ray wants in on this as well. Smith-Pell, fastest lap, 1:33.148. Oh, something's happened with A-Dub then. Oh, A-Dub's got a puncture. What has happened here? How has A-Dub gotten a puncture? Is that what's going to happen on the medium tires? Could that very well happen? We're just seeing now, I don't know if he ran over debris or what, but he's got a puncture on the left front. Does that mean trouble for anyone else on the mediums, or was that just sheer coincidence then? Oh, that might just be a big game changer then. El Majacco, look at the graining that's taking place on his tires. You'd have to believe that his tires are nearing the end of their lives now. Unbelievable. I cannot believe A-Dub got that puncture then. That just puzzles me. You did not expect something like that to happen. Even then, the mediums, at least in his case, haven't exceeded 16 laps old. Wow. And look at, I'm afraid that might just be the case for anyone on the medium tires, as Jacko now, you can start to see him. He's dropping back significantly to the back then of Dace in the lead. That gap now was about a second 2 laps ago, is now outside of 2.2. You can see, I think he's going to have to baby this one home here now. And now Scornsy wants his way back onto the podium. Smith-Pell, 3 seconds, multiple warnings. That puts him up to 9 seconds. Scornsy might be able to reclaim himself a podium here. To KB07 ahead of him. Within the slipstream of the Ferrari ahead. El Majaco falling back significantly. Back to Dace. Scornsy to the inside of KB. Does he have the move into turn 10? Yes, he does. And now, how far back does El Majaco fall within the next 2 laps? It'll be 2 laps to go this next time by. El Majaco falling back now. Scornsy, will he be able to reel in El Majaco? It is a 5-second gap, mind you. However, how far back is Majaco falling? Can he keep his tires from puncturing here? As A-Dub, he has fallen back to the back of the pack now after his puncture. Two Mercedes battling it out here. Nicky 64 in 5th, Dusty Lusky 6th. VTech and Slayer Eyes, those two battling it out then. VTech getting around the outside, manages his way up into 8th. Let's look at KV07. Is he struggling with his tires any? Well, I would say yes. Look how far back. He's already 3 seconds behind Scornsy then. He's got Nicky 64 in hot pursuit. We're going to go ahead and assume that Nicky 64 is going to have this one, well, gift wrapped to him, I'd say. Quite a harsh way to put it, but unfortunately that is the only way to say it. But KV07, I got to say, did go heavy over the inside curb, but he's actually kept that position quite nicely. And now, look at this, Dusty Lusky tries to go around the outside on his teammate. Contact was almost made. 2 Mercedes in the rear view of the 1 Ferrari now, and Dusty Lusky has managed to go around his teammate then. And I'm afraid that KB07 might be next on the hit list then. Scornsy's managed to shave off a second of his deficit back to Jacko. And now Dusty Lusky round the outside of KB07, and I think he's got that one quite easily. Now Nicky 64, I'm going to assume, might have that one as well as they come to the stripe this time by. Final lap of the Grand Prix underway. Dace has pretty much, since Scornsy's mistake, has had this one all his. He got past Majaco, I don't want to say relatively with ease, but he didn't stay behind him for very long once Scornsy had spun out of the way. And we kind of expected that as well. I said Scornsy had a lot of attempts to make that move for the lead happen, and then he had that spin. Oh, it looks like Ray. Oh, Nicky 64 falling down the order. No. Nicky 64 has spun then. Oh, and he was in 5th place as well, 6th place, somewhere around there. Oh, and then he gets into it with TDV Dutchman. Dutchman has taken a little bit of a spill then. In contact with Nicky 64, has gone off the circuit as well. Wow. All right, I didn't expect that. Well, here's Ray down to the inside on KV07. He's going to make that one happen for perhaps 6 seconds of penalties he does have. Still right there. Still looking for it, and he does have it. Nicely done for the McLaren. El Majaco is about, not even, he's a couple corners away from being able to maintain 2nd place. Scornsy closing in quite fast, but I'm afraid it's too little too late then from the Haas driver. But Dace, rounding turns 14 and 15 now, he took his opportunities when given to him. The AlphaTauri coming across the line now. Dace in the AlphaTauri will win the French Grand Prix. El Majaco will be taking home 2nd place after all he did to defend his lead. It was taken away. Scornsy rallies back to 3rd. Dusty Lusky to 4th. Mind you, Ray, KB07, but KB07 actually up 6 positions, as well as VTech. Nicely done for them. A-Dub, after his puncture, down all the way to 17th. Very unfortunate for him, who, by the way, it seemed for the majority of the day that the AlphaTauri team were going to overtake the Ferraris in the constructor standings, but much to their chagrin, they'll have to wait until the next couple of races to do so, as Ferrari goes 2nd and 5th. So after it's all said and done at a very entertaining French Grand Prix, it is Dace in the AlphaTauri taking the win, El Majacco second, Scornsy third, Dusty Lusky fourth, fifth is KBO7, sixth VTech, seventh Ray Ray, eighth is Shry Coleslaw, ninth Slayer Eyes, 10th Nicky 64, 11th Smith Pell, 12th TDV Dutchman, 13th Unholy Red Eye, 14th Ray Lobo, 15th A-Dub, 16th Team B7, 17th Tim Rowland, and rounding out the field P18 is Tweezer. That, my friends, was a very exciting Grand Prix, and next week it's going to get even more interesting when we head to Imola for a sprint race weekend as well. Goodness gracious, I am excited. Hotspot, it's been me on the call. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next week when we head to the Autodromo Internazionale di Monza. Imola. Same thing.